Hey everyone, I am really excited today because I am launching a brand new edition of my Meal Prep Made Easy series. Now you might know that in January I launched 6 tasty episodes of this series and you seem to really enjoy them. So I have created 6 brand new delicious menus that are just bursting with the flavors and colors of spring, and I can't wait to share them all with you. Once again, I have compiled all of these menus in a brand new ebook. I'm really excited to share it with you guys. All of the details are in the description box below, so you can find all of these yummy recipes there. First up on today's menu, I've got some salmon cakes that I am real excited about. And what I love most about these is that unlike most salmon cakes, they are completely gluten-free. Because instead of breadcrumbs, I'm actually using some ground almonds. I'm getting started with about a pound of lovely salmon. I've just removed the skin and cut it into cubes. And I'm simply going to put it in the bowl of my food processor and give it a few quick pulses just to start breaking it up a little. Next, I'm going to add my binders. First up, we are using almond meal. Nice healthy fats, gluten-free. Next, I'm going to add my egg to help these bind even further. And then it's time to build in some flavor. So I've got some freshly chopped green onion and some freshly chopped dill. I'm also going to season this with some red chili flakes and some salt and pepper. For the finishing touch, I'm going to add the zest and juice of 1 lemon. Because of course, salmon and lemon are a flavor match made in heaven. Next, I'm going to blend this all together until it's well combined, and then I'm going to transfer my mixture to a bowl and get to work on forming my salmon cakes. Guys, you know how I feel about doing things by hand. There's only one way to get a job like this done. To cook these babies, I've got a frying pan with a little bit of olive oil heating up on the stove, and I'm just going to cook them on both sides until they're nice and golden brown. These lovelies are best served with my homemade yogurt dill sauce, which I'm going to show you now. Now this sauce is the perfect accompaniment because it mirrors a lot of the same flavors that we used in our salmon cakes. So I'm starting with some plain yogurt in a bowl. Into that, I'm going to add some freshly chopped green onion, some fresh dill, a little more lemon zest, and some more lemon juice. See, look at the color of this already. This is something you want to eat. I'm going to season this up with some salt and some pepper, give it a good stir, and there's your dip. And what's great about it is that you can eat it with those lovely salmon cakes, of course, but you can also eat it with some fresh veggies. These salmon cakes will last in your refrigerator for 2 or 3 days, or you can pop them in the freezer to extend their shelf life. Next up on today's menu, I've got an incredibly easy asparagus risotto that makes a wonderful side dish or is good enough for the main event. Why I call it an easy asparagus risotto is because we are not going to go through the painstaking process of ladling our broth in 1 cup at a time like a traditional risotto. We're kind of just gonna dump it all into the pot and let it simmer away. So we are going to get started with some olive oil in a nice deep skillet on the stove. Once that olive oil is nice and hot, I'm going to add a finely diced onion and saute that until it becomes translucent. Next, I'm going to add some minced garlic. I'm using about 3 cloves here because I love a nice flavorful risotto. And I'm also going to add my arborio rice. Now, arborio rice is traditional risotto rice. You could use other types of rice, but arborio rice tends to get a nice creamy texture as it absorbs liquids around it. So it is perfect for risotto. After about a minute, it's time to add my chicken broth and some fresh thyme leaves. Once this mixture has reached a boil, I'm going to turn my heat down to low, put on the lid, and let this simmer away until all of that liquid has been absorbed. Now, you want to stir this maybe every 5 minutes or so to make sure it's not sticking to the bottom. And after about 20 minutes, what you're gonna end up with is this gorgeous, creamy rice dish. But we're not done yet. To add a nice fresh bite to this risotto, I'm going to add some asparagus that I've just cut into 1-inch pieces. I'm going to stir it into my rice, put on the lid, and let that asparagus cook for only about 2 minutes or so, just until it turns bright green. To finish this yummy risotto off, I'm going to add a good knob of butter for richness and a handful of freshly grated Parmesan, which of course packs a ton of flavor punch. I'm going to season this up with some salt and some pepper, and it is oh so ready to enjoy. Creamy, dreamy, the perfect side dish for those salmon cakes, don't even joke. This risotto will last in your refrigerator for 3 or 4 days. For our veggies this week, we are celebrating spring with some sweet green peas. Now you can definitely do this with frozen peas if you want to, but if you can find fresh, those are even better. So to cook my peas, I've got a skillet heating up on the stove with just a little bit of olive oil, and to that I'm going to add some finely chopped green onion. Next, I'm going to add my peas and a couple tablespoons of water. Once most of our water has evaporated and those peas are nice and bright and green, we are going to add in a nice handful of freshly chopped mint. I'm also going to give this a nice squeeze of lemon juice. I'm going to season this with some salt and some pepper, and there you have it, a fresh, simple side dish. Next up on today's menu, I've got a lovely leek and white bean soup. This entire soup can be made in under 30 minutes and has a ton of flavor. So I'm getting started today in my Dutch oven. You could also do this in a large soup pot if you wanted to. And all I'm going to do is heat up some oil over medium heat, and to that I'm going to add some leeks that I've just cleaned and chopped. I'm going to cook my leeks for 3 or 4 minutes or until they become nice and soft. Next, it's time to add some bright, fresh flavor. So I've got some minced garlic, and I've also got some fresh thyme leaves, some freshly chopped rosemary, and some freshly chopped parsley. I'm going to add a few red chili flakes for good measure, and then cook this up until it becomes fragrant. Oh my gosh, and the moment those herbs hit that pan, you are just in like spring heaven. That's how you know it's time to add your white beans and your broth. In this case, I'm using veggie broth, but of course you could go ahead and use chicken broth as well. I'm going to season this liberally with some salt and some pepper, bring it all to a boil, and then reduce my heat to medium-low and let it simmer away for about 10 or 15 minutes. And our final step is going to be to add in some spinach. Now I've got some lovely baby spinach. We're just gonna stir it in, and you know, it'll sort of wilt right into the soup. It is basically ready to serve as soon as that spinach has wilted. This soup can be served as is, or you can puree it with an immersion blender for a nice smooth soup. It's totally up to you. It will last in your refrigerator for 3 or 4 days, but it also freezes really well. So if you wanted to, you could go ahead and make a double batch and save some for one of those nights you just don't feel like cooking. For lunch this week, I'm making a fresh potato salad, and what I love most about it is that it's absolutely mayo-free. So I'm getting started with some baby red skin potatoes, and all I've done is cut them in half, and I'm just going to boil them until they become fork tender. Once they're finished boiling, I'm gonna run them under some cold water to stop the cooking process, drain them, and they're ready to go. Now that my potatoes are ready, I'm going to make a really simple dressing for this salad. It's just a matter of mixing some red wine vinegar with some olive oil, some Dijon mustard, and a good squeeze of lemon juice. I'm going to whisk it all together and then set it aside while I build the rest of my potato salad. To my potatoes, I'm adding some finely diced celery and celery leaves, some chopped green onion, some chopped fresh dill, and a few tablespoons of capers. Capers add a nice saltiness to this salad. Then I'm just going to pour on my dressing, season this up with some salt and some pepper, and give it a good toss. The longer these potatoes sit in all of this yumminess, the more delicious they become. These will last in the refrigerator for 4 or 5 days, so I like to transfer them to separate jars and then top them with a little bit of peppery arugula. This salad is also amazing if you want to enjoy it with some boiled eggs or some canned tuna. For breakfast this week, we are doing something a little bit different. It's called banana chia yogurt, and what's cool about it is that it's a vegan take on traditional yogurt, and the base for this yogurt is actually cashews that have been soaked in water for about 2 hours or so just to soften them up a little bit. So I've drained my cashews and I'm going to add those to the bowl of my food processor. I'm also going to add some chia seeds that I've soaked. Now when chia seeds get soaked in water, they become a bit gelatinous, and they're actually full of fiber and all sorts of amazing things for your health. So this is a really nutritious breakfast. To this, I'm also going to add a little bit of almond milk to help smooth it out, and then I'm going to run my food processor for a minute or two and let those cashews break down completely. Once the cashews have broken down, it's time to add the rest of our ingredients. So I'm using 2 ripe bananas, which add some creaminess and a little bit of sweetness to this yogurt. I'm also adding a splash of vanilla, a splash of lemon juice, a dash of salt, and just a touch of maple syrup for sweetness. You could leave this out if you wanted to. I'm going to blend this all up until it's nice and creamy, and then I'm actually going to transfer it to some mason jars and top it with some beautiful berries. What could be better for breakfast? These will last in your refrigerator for up to 5 days. The banana may go a bit brown, but it's still totally safe to eat. Finally, on today's menu, we've got our snack for the week. And this week, it is all about some simple caprese kebabs. Now, these are made with all of the classic caprese flavors. So I've got some cherry tomatoes, some bocconcini balls, and some fresh basil. If you want to finish these off with a little drizzle of balsamic vinegar, they are absolutely delicious. 2 or 3 of these should get you through that 3 p.m. snack attack. And of course, they'll last in your refrigerator for 3 or 4 days. So you can make a whole bunch and enjoy them all week long. I really hope you guys will give some of these recipes a try, and of course, if you do, you must be sure to tweet or Instagram me because I love seeing your kitchen creations. And keep in mind that all of these recipes are available in my brand new Meal Prep Made Easy ebook. The details are in the description box below. If you're looking for more meal prep inspiration, not to worry, you can check out any of these videos. And finally, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because there's lots more meal prep goodness where this came from.